Cool. What's up, world? My name is Corey State Trappin. I'm here with Trap Talks, where we discuss the intersection of culture and tech. And today I have the honor and privilege of interviewing Kevin Kissi. To give you a little bit around a rundown of Kevin, he's a Ghanaian. Is that how you pronounce it?
Ghanaian.
Ghanaian. Okay. A Ghanaian. He migrated here with his parents from Ghana, was the former software engineering manager at Microsoft. He's been a founder and principal consultant for his company called Kissi and Company. Has worked for different companies in engineering manager or engineer capacity. North Dakota State graduate. Want to kind of pause there. Was there anything else I can kind of add to your intro?
No, I'll let you have that.
Cool. um, and I did miss the most important thing, which we're going to touch on later. He's also the founder of Zofi. That was one of the me and Kevin had kind of bumped into each other over the years. He's not afraid to reach out to people cold, and I'm not either. So really interested in just digging in, to your background, right? And how that has informed you as an entrepreneur and where you are today. So, and I'm sure our guests, our viewers today are going to be really interested in hearing about your insight on AI and where it's going to take us in the future, right? For better or worse, right? So yeah, so let's start with I always like asking Africans this question, right? It's a very serious question. I think you know what I'm about to ask you. Who makes the best jollof?
You know, um, but I think that I like to also play, you know, a bit controversial and say that it's neither Nigerian or Ghana, and say, let's give it to a third party like Senegal. Apparently, I don't have not confirmed this, but there's some chatter that Senegal is the original inventor of Java.
I was just about to ask you that. So to kind of make a analogy to jollof, like in America, collard greens are like really big here, right? With African Americans and stuff or whatever. So it's like different regions of the South cook it differently, right? So you may have like your vinegar based collard greens or whatever. Some people don't put as much collard greens. Or if you're looking at like barbecue, right? Like each state literally has a different way they're making barbecue, right? And everybody says their way is the best way. So I appreciate your diplomatic answer there. So are you good at cooking jollof yourself? Or you rather eat somebody else's jollof?
It's one of the very good things I'm good at. I think
Okay.
I make some really mean jollof rice. Like I love having people taste my jollof. Um, because I have and I've always gotten very, very good feedback. And I don't do like, any tin tomatoes. I mean this is like canned tomatoes. And everything I use is organic and like, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
I care a
Right.
lot about the ingredients I use for my jollof. And so, you're getting the crisp taste, and then you're also getting health benefits from eating my jollof instead of eating something from outside.
Yeah. All right. So we got that out the way. Most important question, right? Uh, Tell us what it was like when you first, moved to America. I remember you saying how your parents were somewhat culture shocked when they saw how the adolescents were acting in New York, and you later went to Minnesota. But yeah, so talk to us about those early days when you came over and what that was like.
Yeah, my parents were actually very strategic. They did not bring us to the US right away. They came, they lived here for 6 years, prepared a place for us before they brought us here. So it was me and my two sisters that we came together. We actually came as like teenagers on the plane. We had to wear badges so that they know where we're going, that kind of thing. And I think it was actually smoother than I thought. I was 14 at the time. My older sister was 16 at the time. And I think we carried ourselves pretty well. Everything we ate didn't taste very good. You know, the first time I had chicken nuggets was actually at the airport at Amsterdam. I
Yeah.
almost spit it out
Wow.
100%. And then I think maybe like a year down the road, it became my favorite thing to eat.
Yeah.
So that was very strange. My parents first moved to New York, and New York is a little bit, different from Minneapolis. New York is more diverse. The hip hop culture was buzzing at that time. The baggy clothes, the bandanas, the long tees. Man,
Yeah.
I remember back those days. I think that was a turn off for my dad.
Yeah. I remember you saying that.
That was a complete turn off for my dad, seeing guys from high school, doing the walk and all of that. He's like, no, I'm not bringing my kids here to come and, be part of this. So he picked the place out in the middle of nowhere, uh, Minnesota. We lived in Plymouth, um, for some time. We lived in Golden Valley first, and then we lived in Plymouth. So these are some of the places that look nothing like Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Zero culture, but it was definitely a culture shock, for sure. Actually, if you asked me, I would have said that, hey, I would prefer if we had actually moved to New York. If we had just let us live in New York, because that experience would have been amazing. But I think, um, we went to a private school in Ghana. And so we were overly prepared for academics here. And so we were just probably like a year ahead, in terms of
Mm,
preparation, year or a year or two ahead in terms of preparation. But because we're coming from a foreign country, um, they thought that we needed to go through English training courses. So they stuck us in, they call it ESL. They stuck us in
yeah.
ESL for a long time. It was extremely annoying. It was not, you had kids that could not speak a word of English, and we've been speaking English since we started school.
Yeah.
And we actually went to one of the elite, middle schools in Ghana and whatnot, and to see us going through ESL was actually annoying. But that was actually something that prevented all of us from, starting advanced placement courses. I don't know if you heard of advanced placement, but AP classes. You
Right.
basically have to, like, get to a certain place before they allow you to take them. Uh, and so that delayed us. So for me, for example, I was only able to take them after on my final year of high school because I was wasting time in ESL classes. So I think, that, and then also, I mean, I did still have an accent. So I loved playing basketball. So the kids will always make fun of me, the African
Yeah.
booty scratcher, comment. Yes, I've heard it several times. I
Yeah.
know people say it. Of course, it has been directed to me as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. But as long as I make my layup, as long as, I score on them, I'm good.
Yeah.
Call me all you want. I'm going to score on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Once I got, you know, situated, but initially it was very hard. I didn't have any friends. I had to make new friends, bullying or cared until I joined wrestling, and then kids got afraid of me. Find So yeah, that was the experience when you put it together, for me at least.
Yeah. Yeah. So y'all was in New York for less than a year?
No, no. My parents were in New York. And then they picked Minnesota before they brought us to the US. So we didn't even
Mm,
get to see New York. Yeah, my younger brother, on the other hand, was born in New York. They were here because my mom was pregnant when they came here.
got it. Got
Yeah.
it. Got it. So what were the, could you say you lived in Minnesota? What were some things you actually liked about living there? What are some things that, you felt like it kind of helped you get more acclimated to living here in the US?
You know, I don't have a lot of good things to say about Minnesota because I've seen the difference between Minnesota and California, and I'm like, hey, this
Yeah.
is where I should have been all along.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think uh, Minnesota has its perks. I mean, the lakes are great. I run around a lake called Benimaxta. Um, I enjoy it. That's like my running routine right there. 3 miles, beautiful, good time. A lot of people running around it. I think that's probably like the biggest highlight. The summers are very hot. I like it hot. The winters are brutal. I do like the winters, but I think, growing up, high school, I remember that we used to run in like 25 below weather. And I think that basically like is a
Wow.
character builder, you know? When
Yeah.
you're able to, work as a team. One of the things that we did, as part of wrestling, we'll go running. This is like -25 or whatever, or -10, -15, 25, whatever.
Oh my God.
And when the last guy behind is getting too far behind, the people in the front will have to go behind, turn around and go behind that last guy. So our runs
Mm,
will be forever because you just don't want to leave anybody behind. And I think that taught me a lot of lessons. And I think I have carried out throughout my life. And that's built a lot of resilience in me. I think some parts of college, I went to North Dakota State University. And actually, I'll correct you there. I didn't finish North Dakota State. Actually, I'm a dropout, proud dropout.
okay. Okay.
It'll be blizzards and all of that, negative weather. I'll still go out there and run. And it was kind of like a connection to my high school days.
Yeah.
Maybe I was going through something, some challenges going on. I step away from the mental and just go deal with the physical challenge, which is running in negative below weather and, snow falling on you or blizzards, wind is just like gushing in your face that are very icy cold. And once I deal with that physical impediment of, bad weather and all of that, it makes the mental challenge of solving problems and doing certain assignments a little bit easier because I've
Right.
dealt with something much harder.
Right.
Well, while it's physical, it's also very mental because you're
Mental.
feeling your hands are freezing, your legs are freezing, and you say, "No, I'm gonna keep going." I said the target, I'm running 3 miles. I'm not
Mm,
stopping until I run 3 miles. And I'll get back and I just have to like sit for a while my leg defrosts and everything. But like it's a refresher
yeah.
to getting back into like something that is a lesser stress and lesser whatever. I think it's a reset, you know? It's also like, yeah, for me, it has been a way to like clear my mind and readjust myself into what is real challenge here, you know? Because I've already conquered something that's much difficult challenge than
Yeah.
this problem set I'm about to solve. And so
Yeah.
I think I can definitely take some benefits from that time. I mean, Minnesota, I suppose. I can give it that credit.
Yeah. Yeah. So what you made me think of, right? Like I do cold plunges from time to time, like on my recovery days from doing like MMA. So when I'm doing those cold plunges, I'm trying to think of something like pleasurable to get through it. So I usually think about eating, butter pecan ice cream or something or sweet potato pie. Like, what are your thoughts to get you to run through below zero weather? Like how do you make do you even try to think about like you're in a different place, like you're running through a park? It's
No,
just like
the whole time it's just like, anarchy mindset. I mean, I don't get to that place. I feel like I'm a little too old for it, but it's kind of like, I'm strong, I'm great, I can
yeah,
conquer, that kind of
yeah,
mindset.
I love it.
If I'm listening to something is that kind of, thing. And I tend to listen to very like, you know, um, I used to listen to gangster music, I would say,
Which
extreme
rapper? Which one?
think, what's the guy's name? Young Jeezy back in the day.
Okay, okay. So you was on the trap music? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Well, back those days, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked Future too, trap, a little bit of trap back then. And I also liked, Bob Marley too. So, I
Mm,
mean, there's this song by Bob Marley, Coming In From the Cold. I'll literally be playing that while running through the cold. And it's like, literally, I'm going through cold. Coming in from the cold. Yeah.
yeah,
It's a great
that's
song.
funny. Yeah, yeah. My parents loved Bob Marley. Like he was the greatest. They was really hurt when he passed. So yeah, that's the legend. You can't really go wrong with that. I don't know if I can listen to Bob Marley when I'm taking a cold plunge. Though. I need to listen to something. I don't know. Maybe I could.
Yeah.
So So what brought you to, was it North Dakota, right? You end up going to North Dakota State, I think
Yeah,
it
for
was?
college. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get into the details of how that happened, but it was not at all. But I was being told that the mechanical engineering program is pretty good. It's pretty solid. And at the time, I didn't want to get into software because I felt like software was like a hobby that I did in high school.
Mm,
I usually had access to my dad's computer. And so that's where I'll do my, you know, programming and all of that when I was in high school in the basement. But I didn't see it as a whole job that I would do. So I wanted to learn something I didn't know. So I decided to do mechanical. And North Dakota State is one of the places they had a great mechanical engineering program. Yes. So I ended up there. But actually, I'll probably be a little bit more specific. I actually wanted to do aerospace engineering at the time.
mhm,
I think I had significant curiosity in that field. I wanted to know how uh, these jet engines work and how they propel this heavy piece of metal through the air and fly and still, maintain position in air. I want to learn all of that. And I also thought about, an astronaut at some point, a younger
mhm.
version of myself. But I think I really enjoyed physics and everything too. So I wanted to learn more. But all along, I think I should have just stuck to what I was good at, which is software.
So you say you used to make or work on software in your dad's in your parents' basement.
Yeah.
Tell me about those early days of like, how did you stumble upon, writing code? Because it was a lot different than it is now. Like, I don't think the tools were as easy to use. Like, you probably was really in the terminal,
Yeah.
deep in the terminal
Uh,
writing. But yeah, talk us through that.
DAWs, ARL, like literally using ARL CDs. I'm dating myself here. ARL CDs to get internet.
Yeah,
iLove,
I
all of
remember the
that.
dial up days.
Yeah, yeah. Man, they used to send all this 15, is it 15-day trial? Something trial, these CDs, ARL CDs. So I got a lot of those to be able to have access to internet. I think back in the day, I was doing some web designs and stuff too. So I do websites for people. So I learned how to write, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript
CSS.
on W3 schools.
Yep.
Long, long, long time ago.
I
Man,
mean, it's still up, and it's still up.
yeah, it's still up.
Yeah.
And then I also got into, you know, offensive security. So I had Linux variations on my computer. I installed Kali Linux, hacking Wi-Fi and all of that stuff, and um, pretty interesting stuff. I was just fascinated by it. So a lot of that kind of stuff. Trying to do things in a terminal, creating games, small little games, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, it's just see what I can do with Python, something small like maybe you know create this program that multiplies and subtracts and does this, like
Mm,
creating a calculator kind of thing.
calculator.
And then also was doing programs on my I forgot, was it um Texas Instrument, is it 83 TI
T one
83?
eighty three. Yeah,
Yeah,
TI
I was
eighty
doing
three.
some different programming stuff on that calculator. That calculator was very extensible. There's a lot
Mm-hmm.
on there. Um, so even the mechanical engineering program, they didn't allow those calculators. If it did, easy. I could have put a lot of stuff on there. A lot of the
Yeah.
equations and the U's and all of that would have been on there. But yeah, um, ah,
Why
yeah,
why didn't they allow T1 or TI 83 calculators? That don't make any sense to me.
because you can actually store all the you can store the equations on there, right? They want you to be able to like know the equations so you can use them to solve the problems. I mean, the goal is to learn them and learn them well. So they
Right.
only allow us to use basic calculators. They had like prescriptive like set of calculators you can use. Even the what was this test? The FE test. I think that's the fundamental engineering test. There are specific calculators you can use. So you can't just use a bunch of, I mean, those calculators can really store a lot of stuff on there. Yeah, pretty decent amount of memory that you can store a lot of stuff on there. So um, I don't think I would even if I was making the rules, I'll allow people to use it as well.
Mm,
Yeah, got pretty good with using it too. I was using the calculator without looking at the screen and doing work. Uh,
okay.
spent so much time on it, so I know where all the keys are and everything I need to press. And so when I was trying to time myself to solve problems, that's one of the things that was really amazing. Learning the skill of pushing yourself to the limits of, solving engineering problems very quickly and get ready for exams. That requires you to get to the point where like the calculator keys are just like something you don't have to think about.
Right,
But the
right,
numbers you need to press, you don't have to look. I just look for the number and just copy it down.
right,
When you're trying to move at that speed.
right, right. So because I see you majoring in math, do you think developers need a strong background in math to be good to be good at web development or back end or
Yeah, yeah. You know the concept I was talking about with you know, doing something that's physically hard, and then that forces you to also be harder mentally. And when you
yeah,
approach something like problem sets, it becomes a little bit easier. I feel like math is that thing for them when it comes to software, right? Math is just like complexity just keeps going up. And you can choose to allow it to keep going up and up, right? When you solve this problem and you're very, very, you know, um, passionate about solving technical problems and hard problems, you can just keep going. Whereas
right,
in software, you just have this you just have this, place where it just kind of stops in terms of like how technical it can get. And so when you're coming from math to software, it's a little bit easier. It's a lot easier. How hard can you be? Definitely not as hard as math, right? And I'm not saying like coursework was so hard. I'm saying that being sucked into math got me to the point where I was always pushing for the next challenge, the next challenge,
yeah,
the next challenge, right? And I think that's something that I think everybody has to have that attitude built out by math, right? Math just once it sucks you in and you become that person who just wants to attempt the hard stuff. When you come to something that is like, computer science, it makes you stand out, you know. Other software engineering people tend not to, look at things the same way as you do, right? You can think of solving problems a little bit more creatively than they do. The things they were taught how to, use, the tools they were taught how to use to solve this set of problems. You can sit back and like, what was the best way to solve this problem? Right. And sometimes you come up with different things that are not toolbox of a regular software engineer. And You can be a lot more efficient, and you can, just coming up with different solutions to different problems and thinking differently. And even like ideating also, I think I can give some credits to math as well. Sometimes I just sit back and say, okay, what's the absolutely best solution to this problem? Not one that just works, one that is absolutely the best possible solution. Whether you're a dog, whether you're an alien from planet Mars, you have to subscribe to the fact that this is the best possible solution. And that's what like I like to think like this is gonna be the best possible solution to this problem. And it doesn't matter who you are, you're gonna have to agree that it's the best possible solution to this problem. And so when you are dealing with math, which a lot of times lives in absolutes, depends on what you're doing, but a lot of times it's like absolutes, right? Whereas in engineering, it's not always absolutes, right? And so when you take that bias towards an absolutist approach to solving problems, you tend to find probably the best solution than most people will.
yeah, yeah. And you can love your insight on this. Like what I found is that most of the developers that I actually met in Cali or just in general, they don't even have a degree. And so, like, I feel like if you're kind of a person who pushes themselves and can learn how to write code and go through all the hours of debugging and all that good stuff, debugging, which goes to your platform, which we'll talk about later. When you're building these MVPs, I found that most of those people who are good at it don't have degrees. But if you have like a app that's like large scale, right, this already has wide adoption, that may be when you will want an engineer that has more of a degree that understands different basic principles. Is that also is from your standpoint, because you've been an engineering manager, is that true?
I think fundamentally you have to think about the world as a place where you can be very successful if you produce the most high quality results, right? It doesn't have to always be correct because the people who are using solutions are humans and they don't always live in a world of perfection or a world of like things being the best possible way of doing things. So you don't need to be, you know, IQ or whatever, or you don't need to be the smartest person in the room to be able to build something that works enough for people to use and make you successful. I don't think that is the criteria at all. Um, but I mean, the basis is that if you can actually build something without needing a degree because you just work hard, persistent, and you're able to deal with things breaking and fixing it and all of that, and you get to a good place, I mean, power to you, right? But for me, I'm biased. I think that the world deserves the best possible solutions that we can come up with as humans. I don't think that it should just be people being able to market, stones and then that being what sticks. I think if someone is able to build something that is, it's, tier 3 or tier 2 versus a solution that is tier 1, I think eventually um, the tier 1 solution should come back and win at some point. And I think generally speaking, it does occur that there are certain areas where it doesn't occur, but a lot of times it does come to fruition that the best possible solution ends up winning eventually. But it takes a lot of different disciplines to come together for all of that to work. You got to have the best marketing, you got to have the best products and all of that. So yeah, I mean, you can do pretty amazing things without a degree. I mean, I worked at one of the places where back in the day, if you didn't have a master's degree, they didn't care. And that's Microsoft.
Mm,
They cared a
mm,
lot about credentials. But I think eventually they started to loosen up a bit and realize that, hey, our founder didn't even have a completed degree, right? And a lot of people who don't have all those credentials, so they tend to produce high quality work still.
yeah,
But I do think that having some college is necessary because you need to know, for me, you need to know where the limits are. You need to know where the boundaries are so that you can push against those boundaries. Because if you're skipping college and you don't know where the boundaries are, maybe you might be limiting yourself. Maybe you think, I think this should be enough. But when you know that, okay, um, it can go, much further than this. And I think it's a community where you have people from all different backgrounds, people that are very good, people that are not so good. And then you come to like get a very good picture of what good work should look like.
right,
And then you could actually pursue that. I think you can definitely, I think when you're in enterprise or business, it's not always like pushing the limits necessarily. It's all about business closing the transaction. And so it's not about always pushing the limits, but in academia, a lot of times it's about pushing the limits. Like when it comes to research, 100% pushing the limits of what is possible, right? There's no settling for middle ground. No, it's pushing the limits, coming up with the best possible thing that can work and the best way to do this, the best way to do that, right? And so having some part of that in your DNA really does help a lot when you transition into the workforce and trying to build something. So, I mean, I'm biased towards that. I think it's good to have some idea of what it looks like rather than just like coming from high school. A lot of it can just be like grunt work. Well,
right,
you might not like, you might just say, you might be that person that is extremely curious. I think for you to still end up at the place where the person who went to college is at and did some research and whatever, you have to be someone that is extremely curious. That means that you want to learn everything, whether it's in a formal setting of a university or college or by yourself. And so I think when you have that as part of your DNA, yes, you can skip college because you're going to eventually get to the point where you've read all of the research papers in whatever domain that you want to achieve success at and know where the limits are. And then maybe, start spending time with people like that, and then you start to like be part of that culture, be part of that bias of on how to on right. So for me, I've gotten the privilege of seeing pretty incredible, pretty smart people that are pushing the limits, of research and math. So I know, what it takes and um, you know, what we're up against, what you're up against, that kind of thing. In engineering, what it really is all about, like, understanding what it takes and all of that. Um, you know, knowing what my professors, do for research and that kind of stuff, it gives me perspective, right?
Right.
When it comes to like, okay, when I see something, I'm like, maybe I can find, a solution in reading research papers, right? Because I know that this is something that is probably being worked on because I've had that exposure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That like kind of brings me back when I used to read a lot of uh cryptocurrency or blockchain white papers, and I got to the point where I was reading so much of them, I could instantly off just reading like a couple pages, like five, whether all they did was just copy and paste from what they already seen, or are they actually creating something original? But, to your point, the devil's in the detail, right? You can really read all that research. It helps you make more informed decisions, and you actually are able to see where the true, boundaries are, right? So what was that moment when you realized like, hey, I'm probably not gonna graduate?
When I had to take courses that I deemed to be unnecessary towards what I'm trying to do. I was supposed to, take one semester and finish up language courses and some courses that I didn't care to take. And so I was like, I've learned what I want to learn from the university. I think I am capable of doing and achieving the things I want to achieve with the knowledge I have and with all the skills I've built. And I thought it was time to go. And then that's when I actually was building my first company, which is Aura. So I felt it was justified that I spent all of my time on that. And I was super sucked into it. Man, those were some pretty interesting times. I worked like crazy, pushing myself, pushing the limits of what is humanly possible. In terms of work and productivity. But yeah, I mean, I just made that determination based off of, you know, my displacements. Do I know enough? Can I achieve what I need to achieve? And the answer was clear. So I was like, hey, I'm not gonna waste another semester, another year. And I got tired of being around academia too. I just felt like the real world is out there and I'm wasting so much time here. And I wanted to see impact. I wanted to see impact. I wanted to see people being impacted by my work. So, and I couldn't wait. I got to the point where I just could not wait. I'm like, enough this learning, learning, learning. I just can't wait to apply. So I can't hear you right now.
Okay, I have myself on mute. Somewhat want to switch topics. You said something interesting when we did our pre-interview the other day. You were actually in Minnesota or Minneapolis when the George Floyd incident happened, right? And I remember you talking about how the city felt or whatever. You were you didn't know what was going on, right? But yeah, talk us through that day and like how it played out. Because I found that to be like really interesting. Actually the only person I spoke to that was in the city when it was happening, right?
I'm glad you asked this question, and I've been, you know, thinking whether at some point I will talk about it.
Documents in, decisions out. Go to doculingo.com/trap talks 2040 to get your 14-day free trial. And don't forget to sign up for our Patreon page. We out.
But, you know, those were the days I was doing a lot. So I used to do these sprints where I'll spend like, I'll go do like groceries for like 2 weeks. I live downtown in Minneapolis, and I'll spend like the whole 2 weeks without ever coming downstairs, like ever leaving the apartment. So I'll just be up there for the whole 2 weeks. I have everything I need, and I'll just be straight up working. Whenever I need to like get away from my desk, I'll just get up, walk around. I had a really nice long hallway, so sometimes I'll run back and forth down my hallway, and
Mm,
some jumping jacks, get back into it. And so actually, I was in the middle of a sprint similar to that. But that day, I just got tired of being upstairs. So I said, I'm just going to get out, go for a drive. And when I got out, the city felt a little bit like, and I do this kind of routine, drive around downtown, drive around the Mississippi River. I really enjoy the drive over there. And so routinely I do that. But when I came out that day, normally the city is lively, but the city just felt very like dull. And I saw an ambulance, and the people in the ambulance looked very like sad on your face, you know, very, very interesting. Um, and I think maybe I saw like maybe one cop car or something like that. Um, and I felt like the energy was a little bit low. Now, mind you, at this time, I don't know what has occurred. That the collecting has happened. That's that day. But looking back, I was like, huh, there's something weird that day. I caught something weird that day. That day was
mm,
all normal. Like I felt like the whole energy was off. And within my spirit, I just felt like something was off too.
yeah.
So I mean, I went back and then all of a sudden I'm seeing in the news. And the thing actually is not very far from me. I think where it happened is maybe like 1 mile or 1 mile and a half. I wouldn't even not give it like 2 miles. I think it's like 1 mile. I think when I get out of the apartment, maybe like 7 traffic stops and I'm there. Exactly at that point. Seven
Mm,
traffic stops. Like, I really know that area. That there.
yeah.
Um, so it felt very close to me. Finding out about the George Floyd thing, looking downstairs and seeing people protesting while I'm writing code and everything, I felt like a hypocrite, being up there and seeing people protest, and I am just up there and I will not go down there, join them. I saw a few of that a few times. I go over my balcony, see that, and I just could not help it. And I just had to join. So I decided to join, with the protest walk with them and all of that. The George Floyd thing had a real significant impact on me. I mean, I heard about similar instances happening and everything, but this one felt different because of the response is one, and then how I got sucked into it, you know. Now I'll be honest about something. Yeah, I prefer not to, but like most of the people that are protesting, I would say maybe like there's sometimes I saw maybe like two or three, or probably not a single black person. And I felt critical that these guys are protesting, and bringing to light my rights and whatever, and pushing up against, something that they think is not right. And I'm up here and I'm not doing anything about it. I'm just here working. I'm just here doing my code. And so I think that was part of the rationale for sucking them into it too. And say, hey, I got to be there represent. I got to be here and be
Mm,
part of this too. I have not really been that kind of person that goes out of protest and join those kind of things. I just felt like I can add value in other ways. And so
yeah.
that made a difference. And I think that is at the time when I started looking at my experience in Minnesota and starting to realize that, I've been living in a place where every day I'm reminded, or I felt like I'm black, and I've been fighting I've been fighting to always prove myself. I think you have to prove yourself in general. Any way you find yourself, you have to prove yourself.
Yeah.
But I felt like I had to do an extra layer of proving myself and proving
Yeah.
that I'm good at what I do. And, I always have to do it in a very interesting fashion of, going above and beyond and fully dominating, making sure like there is definitive clarity that I'm literally the best at this.
Right.
There's no ifs or maybe. And that's what I constantly did and prove, my value and try to, make sure I'm respected and all of that. But the George Floyd thing just kind of like questioned that. Do I need to be doing all this? Do I need to commit, my energy and resources, extra energy and resources toward this, So first time, Well, I had made my very first trip to Ghana, 2019, after living in the US for 15 years. Yeah, I was very, very much not even Ghanaian at that point, you know. It's very far because I came young, you know. At that point, I'm a little bit far from my culture and everything. But the George Floyd thing just brought back the memory of going back there 2019. And one thing I realized on that trip is I never felt like I was black when I was there because everybody is. I never
Yeah.
felt that I
Yeah.
was different, you know? And I didn't feel like I had to prove myself. I'm different. I'm not violent. I mean, I hate this to say this, but like, I just kind of felt like people were afraid of me sometimes, or felt like I was just going to blow up and just go, you know, put them in your place or make arguments. But just, it's not my temperament. So I just had to like constantly prove that, hey, I'm not, it's okay. You stepped on my toes, it's fine. It's okay. A fight is
Yeah.
not about to break out. You're okay. You know? Um, you know, a- and for once I didn't have to like, you know, feel like I need to do anything, you know. And today I think there should be a reset from the thing. Just right thing got me to the point where I felt like I'm not going to prove myself to anybody. I'm not going to try to like make you think I'm different in any way. You think all black people are a certain way. I'm not going to try to make you think I'm different, you know?
Yeah.
And
That's
that's
just
coming.
not a battle. It's just not a battle you want to fight. It's other stuff you want to
I've got to
focus
the
on.
point I'm not going to fight that battle anymore.
Yeah.
And that's coming from the George Floyd thing where it's like, you know what? Yeah, I'm done. I've been wasting a lot of energy here. Like, there are times when I just spent like 2, 3 days doing extra work just to prove something, just to prove that like, don't treat me anyhow, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I could have probably dedicated that extra energy towards something else, you know? Probably could have been my personal life, or probably could have been spending time doing something else that I like, you know? So, I mean, it got me to the point where like, I didn't want to prove myself. And I think that it's wrong. I think that constantly proving myself was my power. It was powerful. It's what got me ahead. It's what made me great, you know? Even though in the environments, what's causing you to do that is not fair, but it made me great. It made me an exceptional engineer. It made me very, very good at what I do. It made me know every corner of the technology that I'm touching, because I know there is a bias towards me in a certain way. Maybe they think I'm not competent, but I'm like, no, you are so wrong. You don't know anything. I know everything about this. I can run
Yeah.
circles around you.
Right.
And because I had always done the extra work, right? And I think that you don't need to stop that. You should not stop that. No matter if you find yourself in California where it's diverse, you don't feel that tension, you don't feel any of that pressure. I think that muscle shouldn't go away. I think that muscle needs to constantly be strengthened. And so I feel like, you know, if you find yourself in that place, you know, after the George Floyd thing, I I don't think that's fair to you. You know, I
Mm.
think that you need to, you know, continue to be doing twice as hard, working twice as hard, and being great, because maybe in an environment where that would not push you up, in a different environment that would just skyrocket you, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So some of the extra work I did in Minnesota, maybe that did not skyrocket my career, but maybe that same applied effort in California would be a completely different story,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so I'm looking back and I'm thinking, oh wow, because what I realized that um, you know when I came to Microsoft, I realized that if I was doing what I was doing at the other companies in Minnesota, I'll probably be, you know, director. But, you know, it was also like a time when like, you know, I was kind of checked out a bit. But at the same time, there was like routines and systems and like habits that were carrying me,
Yeah.
you know, like I wake up at 4 a.m. and I work and I do what I need to do. But I think that the extra level of doing twice the work, it's like there is a bit of emotional aspect to it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the best. I'm the best. I'm 100% the best. And I can never be beaten. That kind of emotion of, you can think whatever you want to think about me, but I'm the best at this. I think that added an extra layer of effort, even though I had the system and habits and all of that. And I think that
Yeah.
was one thing that's missing when I got there. But I think that also I was already ready to like leave corporate America. You know,
Mm,
I was tired of, you know, all that. I wasn't ready to play any political games or all that. I was just tired. I was just plain tired. And I think some of the tiredness is coming from George Floyd thing. I was like, I'm not going to do this battle. I'm not.
yeah.
I'm not going to fight this battle. I'm not. I mean, there's tiny bit of a little bit of things like that, but like, yeah, I'm not going to do this with you guys. you
Right.
know. And so when I saw the opportunity to build something that doesn't require me to be in an environment where I have to fight certain battles, I was out. So that's
Mm,
how, and I think even though some of the things that participated in my decision in wanting to be, out, are not just that. Um, like I had some health thing that I had going on, that kind of contributed to, hey, do I really want to do this? If say I'm gonna die tomorrow, do I really want to be dealing with this kind of stuff?
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
all of those things played a role to creating clarity that I need to actually build something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a couple of things you said that I want to point out that I found like very interesting because I'm assuming around the same time I was actually in Oakland and most of the protests you didn't really it was hard to find a black person or somebody African actually in the protest. And I mean if you even go back and back the layers of history, you look at slavery. Black people wouldn't have gotten their freedom in this country if it wasn't for those certain white abolitionists like John Brown. He robbed a federal bank and he ended up being sentenced to murder. But there were a lot of white people who actually helped, right? Sure you heard of the Underground Railroad. A lot of those houses and people were either white or passing as white, interesting enough. It's crazy how history kind of repeats itself in rhymes, right? Where, you're writing code in your apartment, you look out, you're like, there's no black people here. I need to go out there. But quite honestly, that's somewhat historical. That's what been happening, right? And I think
Oh,
the whole George Floyd thing really showed me was that was the first time where you saw a strong movement of white accountability for their actions, right? I had never seen it. And, I would just remember telling certain people like, hey man, we need to take advantage of this because I don't know how long this is going to last. But yeah, when you talked about that moment, I remember there was like a bike uh, protest in Oakland where people were on their bikes riding. It was like when I tell you it was like 80% white, I was like, wow, where are the black people? It was, to me, it was very lovely to see, right? Because it just let me know that George Floyd, he transcended who he was as an African American. He was just a person, a human, right? And people felt that pain. Um, there's another thing you said too that I found interesting is I grew up, one of my mom and parents, older folks used to say in the family, like, you got to work twice as hard as everybody else. Right. And I think I came to that realization. You're going to be great in your career or whatever you're working on with that mindset, but it's not going to get you to the top of your pyramid where you're truly happy where you are. Cause like, how can you be truly happy when you're always trying to work twice as hard as everybody else? Right. Like you look at Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, right? Super competitive. But I was looking, I don't think he was really happy during those entire finals runs, right? Like he was like, I was exhausted. He went back and played baseball because his dad died. So it's like having that hyper competitiveness doesn't always equal happiness in life. And it sounds like that's what you found. So, but yeah, so all right. So go ahead, say what you gonna say.
I think, extreme hard work is never pleasing.
Yeah.
It's never pleasing, but I think once you need to understand that it's necessary.
Right.
You
Right.
need to also pace yourself and know when you take a break from it and come back and continue going. But I do think that hard work in the right places will get you where you need to go. Hard
Mhm.
work in the
Mhm.
wrong places will be a waste of energy. And I felt like, you know, as I said earlier, I felt like Minnesota wasn't the right place to pour that much energy. I think if I had that energy somewhere else, I could see a lot more results much quicker and much faster promotions. The Microsoft recognition of principle, I think it was like something that was like so like overdue, like being the principal level was overdue. And then all of a sudden it's like, yes, we know you're here. And it was true.
You've been
I
there.
already grown to being at that level a long time. I was just being held there. And then all of a sudden, you know, one of the largest software companies recognized me there as there. When they talked to me, when they, got to know what I've done and what I'm doing and what's going on, it's like, wow, we've been here for 15 years and we're not touched, that level of, So, I mean, I think in the right places for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's why I left North Carolina and went to Cali because it's like, if I'm going to be, swinging my hardest, I'd rather be swinging my bat the hardest to hit a home run or a grand slam versus just struggling to get to first base. And it sounded like that's what drove you to Cali. So yeah, so let's get into talking about AI because that seems to be the talk of the town in the world today, right? Where did you start to see the opportunity in building? Well, first, let's actually start off. What does the name mean, and then we can go into when you seen the opportunity. So, what does Zof mean? Zof AI, particularly Zof. What does that stand for?
Man. See, I don't mean to like get back to the George Floyd thing, but like during the George Floyd thing, I was in my room, doing this thing, which I mean, I just like to do fun stuff because I can. So at that time, I decided to give myself the gift of 6 monitors. I think maybe you've seen it somewhere. I post a lot about it. Like I have 6 monitors in front of me, that kind of thing. It's actually something I thought about doing back in 2014. And then the George Floyd thing, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna be in the house the whole day. I'm gonna arm myself with the best possible, tools in the shoe. So what I did is, I did that. I spent a lot of time just writing code. And I decided to come up with write like a machine learning program type of thing that will learn all the English words and then come up with English sounding words, new words that are English sounding, right? And then I decided to restrict it. Give me 5 best English sounding words. So sometimes it would be like a combination of like, it's not sometimes like, it's basically a combination of vowels, consonants, in the right places.
Right.
Right. And so basically learning to figure out what's the right positioning for vowels and consonants. So we can actually have English sounding words. So I wrote this program and then I was like, you know what? Let's look for 5 letters, words. So I got 5-letter words and I'm like, hey, let's see if the domains for these 5-letter words are available. So I found a couple of them and I bought all of them. I had this API I call if it's available and then I bought it. So I ended up with hundreds, a couple, maybe somewhere around 250 of 5-letter words, essentially. And Zof, ZOFAI.com was one of those words that were generated. So
Mhm.
Zofi, yeah, was one of the words that were generated. And also there was also a ZUF AI that was also generated. And so I was just looking and I was like, ZOF, is it available for the .ai? And I looked and it was available. So I bought it.
Yeah.
And that basically became, what I built the company around, Zof. I just felt like also Zof rhymed with solve a bit. Zof, solve. So I thought, why not? So that's how I did it.
And there's some cool branding you can do with that because you can say Zolve it, right? So,
Yeah, we say that. Yeah, just
okay. Yeah.
yeah. The marketing team has definitely been on that. There's
Yeah, yeah.
got things material out there that says just off it today. Yeah.
I can't even lie to you. I thought you was gonna be like, it came from a African proverb from my parents' home village or something. I was expecting it like so he was
I
like
have,
he
we
created
have,
some code to make it.
I have other things like that though that I could definitely give you that story on it. Yeah, but
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
have,
yeah.
which means it has become beautiful. I wanted to build like a e-commerce brand where like you have like, I don't want to get into it, like distributor
Yeah,
tailors to give you the right things you want to wear, you desire to wear, that kind of thing. It has become
right,
beautiful, and tailors have made it beautiful, that kind of thing.
right, right. So your platform uses AI and it streamlines the debugging process. It saves engineer managers time on debugging. When did you start really kind of realizing how big this opportunity was?
Actually, yeah, I realized how big it was when I was at Microsoft. The size of the software that we built and the number of people that are going to use it, and how a lot of our issues that we get from some of our customers, a lot of times they say, "Hey, man, there's bugs here, there's bugs there, there's bugs here." And I think, you know, we poured a lot of resources to make sure that those things don't happen. But we're doing a lot of it in an ineffective way. We used vendors and we used core engineer resources on our teams. And then we also use, um, what's it called? Yeah, these offshore vendors and then core engineering team members. And then sometimes people who are dedicated to QA and whatnot. Um, I think that, you know, a lot of that can be fully automated. And looking at the implications of making those set of tasks fully automated would mean for an organization the size of Microsoft will mean. I think it was very, very clear the business opportunity is immense. Um, and we already have a lot of friction with dealing with, vendors that are, you know, offshore. They don't actually embrace our same quality standards. And we also have to always wait like 24 hours to get anything moving forward because they are like night and day from
Right.
us.
Yeah.
So I think one, I wanted to solve a problem for myself and my team. I wanted to make sure that we can deliver fast and move fast without any slip up on quality. Right. And the best way to do that is to find fully autonomous ways of doing that so you can maintain that speed and velocity that you want. And so, thought about starting to do a few of those things already. Just that it made a lot more sense to do it outside the organization over time.
Mm,
So as I was looking at it, it's like, oh yeah, I guess this is the best way to do it. I decided to step out. I saw the opportunity very, very clearly when I was there. Some aspect of it also at US Bank as I was doing QA there, but I think it was amplified at Microsoft this year. Looking at the scales and looking
right.
at the amount of spending that goes into QA.
Mm. So I had a interesting with I went to an event last night here in Houston, and I was talking to an engineering manager, and she was talking about how she felt AI would impact engineers as a whole. How do you see it as a net impacting engineers? Do you see it cutting down how many engineers are needed? Obviously, Amazon just had a mass layoff, and one of the things they're saying is due to AI, automation, all that. But how do you actually see it having a net effect on the engineering role? Engineering managers, um, individual contributors who are software engineers, where do you see it net impact?
I'll tell you that I was wrong initially because I really thought that uh, you're gonna end up eating less and less eating less to the point of obsolete. But I do think that even if we're going to use less and less, we're going to be attacking much bigger problems now.
Mm,
So the balancing effect is that, okay, you have this tool that can help us move much faster and do a lot more much faster. And with my tool, you can do it faster and also preserve quality.
right,
Well, now you're chasing after things that you couldn't do before, things you couldn't invest in. Like, there are certain trade-offs that you make as an engineer manager, which today you don't necessarily have to see as a trade-off, right? You have to trade off, hey, device invest in building this feature at this level of quality with all of those functions in there? Or do I settle for half of the functions, half of the things that it could do and be able to ship much faster? Today, you can still ship on time, and still get all your features in. And with my to be able to still get the quality that you want to stay at. I think
Mm,
that's more of what is happening now and what's going to up there more and more. I do definitely think that we're gonna be in a place where certain kinds of um capabilities that software delivers, engineering teams won't even touch because
mm,
now normal people can just do it, right? People can build websites now. Right. Back in the day, earlier, you literally had engineers that have gone to college working on websites. Right. We've gone to a place where websites is not something that engineers work on.
yeah.
They work on much more complex things. And I think it's just going to keep shifting towards leaving the less technical, the things that AI can do for consumers to do, laymen's to work on, to be able to do. And then the more technical and more expertise requiring things to be delegated to engineering teams. And I think we're also going to build more and more tools that will create more capability for consumers as well. Consumers are, like I said, able to build shopping websites that they could not build before, right? They will be able to add things to their catalogs and all of that, design things, design logos, Figma and, the Canvas of the world have enabled everybody to be able to design logos and design different things much, much easier. Anybody could just jump on these, services and be able to do. And I think more and more of that trend is going to happen where, um, you know, core engineering teams are creating more and more capability for, um, people to be able to help themselves. Today, we're not able to do that at extreme quality that we need. Because I mean, you can build a shopping website, but it's going to have a lot of bugs. It's going to have a lot of security issues, unless you're using a tool like Zof that's going to help you surface all of these critical vulnerabilities and critical quality issues. So more and more of that is going to happen. But the more and more of that is happening, the more and more you're inviting a mass of the entire world's population into being able to do things that normally is delegated for engineers to do, which is actually going to create massive engagements in tech, massive revenue opportunities for tech companies. But in the past, tech companies can just make money building this and building that. Today, tech companies can just, you know, enable people to do more and get paid for it. So you're gonna definitely see a balancing effect going one side and then coming back the other way. Today, teams will just say, "Hey, I don't need 30,000 of my engineers." Very soon, you see them coming back and hiring 10, then another 5, then another 10, and then they're back to where they started. But they'll be hiring specialized skill that's helping them create more capability for the average person to be able to do more with less. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for breaking that down. She gave me like a similar answer, but it was very short. She said that she's like engineering managers in general, she think are going to be fine, but if you're a junior engineer just starting out, it's going to be a lot harder for you to get in, right?
Yeah.
And for me personally, with the AI landscape has really changed it how I thought about um creating a podcast, because initially my biggest roadblock was editing my content, right? It takes a lot of hours, right? And so now I have these AI tools to my disposal that really I just have to do one edit, and now I can send it to the AI tool and it does all of my clipping for me because people's attention span is a lot shorter. And so I think with AI is changing, I think it's switching people over from being employees to being more business owners. right? I think it's going to make it a lot easier to be a solo entrepreneur starting out. I don't think, depending on what you're doing, you should stay at being a solo entrepreneur. Depending on what your vision is, I think you should work towards building a team. But now there's agentic AI, agent AIs that you can use. Like I use various AI tools, more of like an assistant, right, on top of the work I'm already doing. But definitely thanks for sharing that insight. And I know we're short on time, so I wanted to open the floor up to you again and ask, like, how can we best support, what's next for Zof in the future?
Yeah. So, I mean, we're engineer for the enterprise. Um, but we're doing this at a much larger scale, in a sense of building an operating system for the enterprise. Um, and we're creating the value there by going across unit disciplines. So instead of just doing this UI tests, be able to do unit tests, stress tests, load tests, security tests, um, and all of that on the one platform. And one of the key things that we also bridging is instead of you having to like do screen record or submit constant queries, you just give us requirements documents. You do some heavy, context engineering and some heavy machine learning and whatnot to be able to still retain as much context from what you give us to be able to create on target test cases, which agents that we built are able to actually execute on. We've built 40 agents to date across all the QA disciplines. And I think, you know, it's unprecedented what we've been able to, accomplish um, with such a small team. And what's out there in the market is pales in comparison to this kind of innovation. I think we're leading the frontier of QA because people think that QA can still be piecewise. That means a human is testing this for now and then testing this for now. But when you have accelerated the development process of software, you can't do piecewise testing. You have to test a lot of things in parallel and very quickly. And so we're bringing a lot of value and a lot of understanding there that this is the way things should be done. And we're also making things a lot easier, a great deal, by doing it this way. I think the greatest benefit for any engineering team is the fact that it's a complete no human in the loop solution where you just give us requirements document, you get results back. And they are on extreme level of quality. And we have a bunch of different supporting features that help to make sure that you have the quality baked in terms of the results you're getting. So yeah, I mean, I think all the support, I can get from your audience is, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend, because the decision makers are probably within your circle for, for us getting our next enterprise customer. We've been working with one enterprise customer for a while, and our goal is to really, you know, scale that as soon as possible and be everywhere. And I do see a time when, if you're not testing results, then um, you shouldn't go to production, because you're creating a standard here as well of what it means to test and test well and test across disciplines.
Cool, cool. Well, you heard Kevin. Support them. If you're an engineering manager, if you're an engineer yourself, sign up. I'll include a link at the bottom so they can sign up or whatever. But yeah, Kevin, thanks for stopping by. Trap Talks, where we discuss intersection of culture and tech. Definitely, um, like I said, it's always cool to talk to someone, who looks like me that's working in the AI space, because I think we need more we need more of us in there so that we can understand and how we can use this to our benefit in the future instead of just being afraid of how it could potentially harm us, right? Like, we need to know every aspect of it. So I appreciate you sharing your story about coming to the US and going to Cali and starting Zof AI. So with that, we're going to sign out. But again, man, thanks for coming. I want to thank y'all for joining us, and don't let this be the last time you come to the trap. I
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Take care. Documents in, decisions out. Go to doculingo.com/Trap Talks 2040 to get your 14-day free trial. And don't forget to sign up for our Patreon page. We out.